give me a comment in the chat or a thumbs up if you can hear me loud and clear. I would appreciate it. John the Morgile here checking in for, this is going to be an impromptu response to what appears to be a good, decent comment on a recent video that I wanted to try and respond to the points. I didn't actually read the entire thing, just the first few points in this response, but I haven't done something like this in a while, and I think it's important because honestly, first of all, I've never done any manual celestial navigation. Like, I know enough about it, far more than I ever did growing up, but it's not like I'm out on my schooner, you know, with my sextant manually navigating with the principles of celestial navigation. Stream Elements bot is running. Wow, so that actually does work, huh? Okay, I'm not sure about that. I'm not an expert with running bots, but hello. So 11 in the chat. What's up, everybody? So as y'all may know, I did a recent video regarding celestial navigation. And again, I've understood the concepts involved with celestial navigation for a while, but again, I've never done any celestial navigation. And so, I don't claim to be an expert on it, but there's certain principles of celestial navigation that appear to me, with my limited knowledge of the topic, to be valid, cogent, obvious proofs for the stationary plane Earth. Well, not the stationary part so much, but definitely the plane Earth. And that's a big deal, right? Because they certainly don't teach us celestial navigation throughout any of our regular curriculum with the mandated federal mind control programming, right? What's up, True Earth Cherry Popper? Transcend 2, salutations. But I think that there are some very valid points that need to be discussed when it comes to celestial navigation. Now, also, another thing that I'll say is that I know through experience of being involved with this topic for so long that there are a lot of what I would assume to be paid trolls out there that spend just a lot of time in the comment sections and in the cyber world, as it were, trying to make flat Earth look stupid and trying to make flat Earthers look stupid, right? What's up, Ian? I mean, it's not bad enough that YouTube openly admits to blackballing or censoring or shadow banning content creators that talk about things specifically like flat Earth. And it's not bad enough. But then also we have to have these admitted intelligence agencies, like, for example, over the pond, JTRIG, who openly and admittedly supplant or implant moles into cyberspace in order to either get on board with certain topics that they want to push their agenda, or to oppose other certain topics that they want to advance their agenda, right? So they're admittedly doing this. Like JTRIG, again, I believe that's a British agency, if I'm not mistaken. But the United States is also definitely doing other things like that, just perhaps not so openly and admittedly, right? I mean, everybody knows that we have black budget projects from the likes of NASA and other R&D agency related contractors, where what black budget means is it's not acknowledged. So they get tons of our money. I mean, this is our tax dollars that are paying for these things, but they don't tell us what they're doing, right? And so they're definitely doing things. They're like doing tons of things, but they're at least doing what I'm talking about, which is implanting moles into cyberspace comment sections and social media in order to psychologically further their agenda. And so when I see comments like the one from this dude, Frank debrewer, again, I haven't read the whole thing, it's quite a lot, but I'm always on guard and have an eyebrow raised in suspicion of somebody that spends a lot of time typing out intricate, detailed responses to a video as suspect, because honestly, first of all, normal globetards don't spend a lot of time responding to flat Earth stuff, right? Normal globetards, and I was one for most of my life. They just think that the topic is stupid, and they may leave a brief comment about how fucking stupid you are, but they're not going to go into too much detail explaining just exactly how wrong you are as a flat earther, because that would first require them to think about the topic. And we all know as flat earthers that if you apply any sort of common sense towards flat earth, it becomes very obvious that it's the truth, right? So someone that spends a lot of time in arguing against valid points is suspect. Now, perhaps there's a good chance that they are just still deeply entrenched into the mindset or the paradigm that the Earth is a spinning ball. I mean, it's a powerful delusion indeed. I mean, it is a difficult one to shake. Even once you start to realize flat Earth, it's difficult to let go the paradigm of spinning ball Earth and infinite space and everything that comes along with that, because at least for me, it's something that I believe since I was very young. And actually, I remember when my dad first told me that the Earth's a spinning ball, and he showed me a little plastic globe or whatever. And I remember being incredulous. I remember asking him, so what, do we live on the top of the ball, right? Because even a toddler knows that, well, you can't walk around on the sides of something, right? And you damn sure can't walk around on the sides of something that's spinning around perpendicular to its axis. I mean, that's pretty basic common sense stuff. And so, they get us with this young, but when we're that young, we don't have the capacity to argue against the adults in our lives or argue against the empirical wisdom of all the scientists that ever lived and died and scienced ever, right? That's not our place to question these juggernauts of scientism, right? Greg Owell says, but his head's been spinning for the last 3.5 years. Yeah, I know. Well, I'm 9 years into flat Earth, I think. I did my first video May 1st of 2015 about it, and I was already looking into it for at least a couple weeks. So not quite 9. Is that 9 years? No, 8 years, right? Hey, Left Fungu Shaolin, what's up? So anyway, the celestial navigation thing, first of all, I'm approaching this from the mindset that I already know the Earth's flat and stationary, right? Celestial navigation is not something that's really going to be that big of a deal to your average Joe who doesn't know the difference between the Atlantic and the Pacific, right? Celestial navigation is way down the road for them if they ever go down the path of flat Earth. And I'm not dogging them. This just, we're not taught it. And most people don't go around navigating the open seas without GPS. I mean, even the ones that are navigating the open seas are doing so with GPS. And we all know the rabbit hole that GPS is. I mean, the underlying technological infrastructure that goes into the maps that power GPS are under lock and key. It's a secret. It's a government secret that is not open source, right? So that's, I forget the exact name of the map that they use for all the Google Maps and all those, but it's not something that's open to the public. And again, it's not open source as things of that nature should be. You would think that it would be, but it's not. And so, with GPS, you could be sailing, following your GPS, and even have some knowledge of celestial navigation. But if you're not paying attention, it's very easy for them to manipulate where you think you are, right? That's one thing that's obvious as a flat earther. But again, I'm approaching this celestial navigation topic already understanding that the Earth's flat and stationary, and so it only stands to reason, it only makes perfect sense that celestial navigation only works upon a flat Earth because a flat Earth it is. Now, when somebody comes to me with a 7,000 point question or response about exactly how fucking wrong I am about celestial navigation, I'm suspect. I mean, we have to treat these sort of issues with kid gloves because there's a very good chance this is just an honest, well-meaning person that has also been tricked about the shape and nature of the Earth since they were a toddler. And so you don't just want to start bashing them necessarily, although, it feels good to do it, I think. But anyway, so let's get into the points. Again, this is Frank debrewer Leyden from 4 hours ago in response to the video Celestial Navigation I put up a couple months ago. So point one, celestial navigation only uses trigonometry in the almanac. For the one handling the sextant and getting his position, no trigonometry is needed. Okay. So first of all, I don't remember making the claim ever in that video that trigonometry was needed. However, I think it kind of goes without saying that trigonometry is involved in that, because if you see any diagram of celestial navigation taking place upon a ball or a plane, you're going to see a bunch of triangles. So trigonometry is only, by name and everything else wholly, the study of fucking triangles. So for step one, like, I'm already seeing, again, he's saying I've made so many mistakes, it's hard to know where to begin. And then he goes attacking the idea of triangles or trigonometry being used in celestial navigation. Yeah, there's triangles involved. And while the dude that's actually taking the measurements may not need to know anything about trigonometry, the underlying matrix of the situation that he's experiencing and hypothetically mathemagicking in his mind involves trigonometry. So, I mean, again, maybe now I'm making that claim that it involves trigonometry, but you could know fuck all about trigonometry and still potentially celestially navigate, as long as you have that celestial almanac. And that was the point that I was making, was that, as much as I've kind of understood about celestial navigation over the years, it didn't really make sense to me how it could possibly be done until I knew that they use a celestial almanac, because you got to know where the stars are at any point in time, because they're constantly moving. It's going to differ from hour to hour. And so once I realized that you do in fact need the equivalent of a celestial almanac in order to celestially navigate, it clicked with me. It made perfect sense. But again, nowhere in that video did I make the claim that you need to know trigonometry. Maybe it's in the title, but I mean, clearly the dude didn't even watch the video. But that's point one. And if it seems like I'm skirting that question, I'm not. I mean, like, so wow, I'm so wrong because celestial navigation doesn't involve trigonometry? Okay, well, show me the instance of that video where I said that it does, right? All right, point two, and let's check the comments here. So Gary Wabanga says trigonometry is only accurate if you can actually see the base. Oh, wait, hold on. If you can actually see the base and top of what's being measured and know the distance to the base. So what? So now we're getting into debates about what trigonometry is and whether or not it's applied. See, that's not a debate I'm having. Honestly, I could care less about celestial navigation. I don't think it's a necessary proof for flat Earth. There's so much other proof that celestial navigation is just yet another piece of empirical evidence to pile onto the never-ending mountain of evidence that we already have for flat Earth. It's literally, I mean, I have no dog in this fight. I know fuck all about celestial navigation, right? Maybe more than the average person, but I'm not going to go out in the Atlantic in the middle of it and try to find my way home based on the limited understanding I have of it. You have to have practical knowledge of it. And, I'm wondering, maybe this guy, Frank debrewer, has all sorts of practical experience with celestial navigation, or maybe he's a troll. There's no in-betweens. It's one or the other, right? And so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But so the number two thing, again, is on a flat Earth, you get a right triangle, and only the angles of that triangle. There is no trigonomic function to calculate the distance to the GP. No, and who said that? So you're telling me all these reasons that I'm wrong and I never fucking said any of that? Dude, you're a troll, bro. You tell me, you go get a fucking real job. For real. Sorry. Okay, so let's go on to number three. The only method to calculate your distance to the GP is the 60 nm per degree zenith angle, sorry. This formula is based on a globe and cannot work on a flat plane. Let's read that again. No dog in this fight, just dogmatism. Yeah, fuck some dogmatism. Exactly. Thank you, Transcend 2. Exactly. So let me read that number three again, because, dude, this motherfucker is shooting salad for real. The only method to calculate your distance to the GP is the 60 nm per degree zenith angle. And I understand what he's saying there. This formula is based on a globe and cannot work on a flat plane. That's absolutely ridiculous. And first of all, this is what I already know and can apply to this situation. What I already know is that throughout history, the scientists of yesteryear, you know, the ancient ones that came up with a bunch of theories that we love to praise and give all sorts of credence to, according to their own narrative, so this isn't me saying this, I'm reporting to you what these motherfuckers claim to believe, is that the ancients believed, or they didn't understand refraction, let's put it that way. They believed that light, like say from the sun or whatever celestial object, only ever travels in straight line paths, rectilinear paths, period. Okay? They thought that basically light was like a ruler and it didn't deviate or refract or any of that, or reflect. They thought that, for example, if you're looking up at the sun and you point your finger at the sun or point a rifle at it or whatever, you're aimed at the sun, they believed that that was the actual position of the sun based on your visual estimation of it. And unfortunately, that's not true. We have things like atmospheric refraction, and in fact, light does all sorts of crazy things. I've made tons of video about how light is not a ruler. And it wasn't until about the 1500s, according to their own timeline, not according to me, but according to the official narrative, that in the 1500s they discovered, or science acknowledged refraction, okay? And what refraction is the bending of light, essentially. It is the, what's the word? I can't think of the word, aberration of light, more or less, right? Or the refraction of light, it bends, okay? And so what that means is that if you're pointing at the sun, unless perhaps maybe if it's 90 degrees overhead, like directly over your head, maybe that's an exception to this. But if you're pointing at the sun in the sky, you are pointing at an apparent position of the sun, not the actual position of the sun, whatever it is or how far it is. It's not the actual direction that it is. It's an apparent direction. And light, in fact, does all sorts of crazy things between your eye and the actual position of that object. Depending on the temperature, the particulates in the atmosphere, the humidity, barometric pressure, there's lots of variables that go into that. The main one being the angle of the sun in the sky itself, according to your perspective. So the best way to describe this, and I've been saying this for years, is that around each little observer on the plane, they are within the fluid of the atmosphere, and that behaves as a convex lens subjectively around each and every little observer, okay? So an analogy that I like to use is if you imagine a basketball court, and on that basketball court, you've got a bunch of, say, rounded shot glasses all lined up on the basketball court all over the place, right? Filled with liquid, upturned shot glasses with liquid in them. And within those upturned shot glasses with liquid in them, you have little tiny observers that can observe what's going on in the stadium and above them from within these little shot glasses, right? Okay. And then if you were to take like a spotlight or like an omnidirectional light and pass it across the half court of the basketball court, depending on where the observer was on the court, like, so if you had one on the 50-yard line, one at half court and one by the free throw line of that side, they're going to experience that light, omnidirectional light passing overhead differently depending on where they are, okay? And that analogy is exactly what's going on the ball, or on the flat Earth, where you've got tiny little observers all housed within their subjective convex lenses of atmosphere. Let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Sorry. So you've got all those little observers within the shot glasses, and really that's exactly what's going on flat Earth. So So light isn't traveling in straight lines to your eye. It's a subjective thing. The sun is the apparent position of the sun according to your eyeball is not the actual position of the sun. And so when we get things like number 3, where he's saying that the only method to calculate your distance to the GP is the 60 nm per degree zenith angle. This formula, and I'm not sure exactly what he means by nm. New Mexico, I don't know, whatever. This formula is based on a globe and cannot work on a flat plane. Okay. But again, it seems to me that he's assuming that light only ever travels in straight lines, right? Because first of all, the reason that scientism says that about the ball Earth is because of like one of these golden rule axioms of ball Earth, where the light from the sun, because it's so 93 million miles away, is coming to us at parallel angles to one another, right? So whether you're standing south of the equator or north of the equator, thousands of miles disparate, the sunlight's coming parallel because that's required by the ball Earth. There are lots of problems with that, and we won't get into those problems, but I've made tons of videos about that as well, including the problems with eclipses. But that's assumed by ball Earth because it's necessary on ball Earth. But the thing is that's not how light behaves, especially not when you're looking at it under the flat Earth sort of hypothesis, where you have a local sun and a local light source that's relatively close, not 93 million miles away. However, the math kind of works out because light is not traveling in straight lines. The light is bending around a flat Earth with disparate observers who can assume that they're on a ball where light only ever travels in straight lines. And so this is a huge conundrum that doesn't work on the ball and works perfectly fine on flat Earth. Again, we won't get into all those problems, but number 3, honestly, this is why I didn't read the whole thing, because while part of me wants to believe maybe this guy is just an honest globetard who really knows his shit when it comes to celestial navigation, and he's trying to slam dunk on me because I don't know dick about celestial navigation, but I do know one thing about triangles. One thing about triangles is they all have 180 degrees. Another thing is all triangles do not have any curved lines. You have to have straight line edges for triangles. And triangulation, trigonometry, is definitely in the framework of celestial navigation. Now, while the dude that's got the sextant may not be applying any sort of Pythagorean theorems to anything, it doesn't matter. It's hard coded into the fucking process, dude. So what are you talking about, honestly? So number 4, you showed some circles on a Mercator projection. Is that the map of the flat Earth? If yes, I can guarantee you that you will never be able to find your position with any degree of accuracy on that map using the method you described. That doesn't work anyway, C2. If not, what map would you use? So first of all, the projection of the map is irrelevant. It's all just different parsing iterations of the same data. It's just how do you want it displayed, right? So the Mercator projection I know is a cylindrical conformal map, which what that means is hypothetically, the equator is the only part of the map that is somewhat accurate in terms of the relative sizes and distances between the continents and the seas, right? The further you get either north or south of the equator, the Mercator projection is claimed to skew more and more to the point of infinity at either poles. So we'll say the North Pole is a single point that is stretched across the entire map. So on the Mercator projection, that single point is described as a 25,000 mile line if you were to compare it nuts to apples or whatever with the equator. So the Mercator projection is just, that's not my map. I didn't fucking come up with a Mercator projection, dude. What are you talking about? So I'm so wrong because I showed an example of celestial navigation using 3 circles of equal altitude on a Mercator projection? This is such a troll, and what a waste of time. But honestly, maybe this dude's not trolling. Maybe he is just, because again, you'll see this sort of cognitive dissonance where, say, like somebody is really good with celestial navigation and has been navigating his schooner on all 7 seas for his whole life. I mean, maybe that's what this dude does, and he's just still attached to the basically Santa Claus story that the globe is. And so he's falling back on his love of celestial navigation in order, because, you know, I'm saying something about celestial navigation and I don't know anything about it. You know, maybe that's what's going on here. But it seems to me that for some reason, there's people out there that spend a lot of time just like listing out shit to try to make flat earthers look stupid in comment sections, right? I don't know. And if I look stupid about celestial navigation, fine, agreed. I never claimed to be an expert on it. But at the same time, it appears that the people that are experts on celestial navigation realize quickly that it is only possible upon a flat earth, because you can't have triangles with curved edges, dude. That's just not how triangles work. And like, if you don't understand the problem, it's because you haven't thought about it. You've only ever believed that the earth is a spinning ball no matter what, okay? And because you believe that, all roads lead to the spinning ball, because you're never gonna even question your beliefs in that. And it does go that deep. But it does make it difficult for the person that's trying to help newcomers to the topic understand flat earth. And you have a lot of shills peppered into this that are just there to waste your time and seem to have a valid, defendable position with lots of word salad and everything. But at the end of the day, it's just a waste of time, right? It's disheartening, isn't it? So just to read that number 4 again, just so it doesn't seem like I'm dodging the question, because sometimes I will go off on tangents and forget what the hell I'm talking about. But number 4 again was, he says, I showed some circles on a Mercator projection. Is that the map of the flat earth? Okay, so no. I mean, it's a map. So the way the Mercator projection was derived, again, it's a cylindrical conformal map, which is intended to keep lines of constant course between known areas, right? So if you're following your map or charting on your map, you don't have to go around curves, right? Because that's how like an AE projection or a globe would be. You're just going straight across latitude lines, straight across those, right? Another thing, one thing I would mention about the Mercator projection is that's interesting and only conducive to flat Earth is it's set up in such a way that you can only circumnavigate the Mercator projection east to west or west to east, right? So around in that circle, right? But you can't like go to the top of the Mercator projection and then come up at the fucking bottom, right? Because it's not set up that way. Now, of course, you can say that that's the way that it was set up on a globe, and fine. Okay, you could do that on a globe. But it is telling that, according to any and all flat Earth hypothesis, if you keep going south, you're not going to wind up, fucking over here like Pac-Man does. That's not how it works. The Pac-Man effect only goes east to west, not north to south, at least on a Mercator projection. So like, just so I don't have to deal with this shillery later on, if you come to the top of the Earth on a Mercator projection and you're charting up and you keep going up, you'll just come back on a curve down this way. That's how that works on a Mercator projection. If you do it on the south, it's going to be like one of these deals. But really, so you're attacking the Mercator projection? Yeah, my name's Gerardus Mercator, and I fucking came up with that map back in the 1400s or whatever. Yeah, that's exactly right. Is that a map of the flat Earth? No, I mean, it's a navigational tool, the Mercator projection is. And he says, if yes, I can guarantee you that you will never be able to find your position with any degree of accuracy on that map using the method that I described, which doesn't work anyway. If not, what map would you use? Okay. Well, first of all, again, I'm not captaining any ships, so I wouldn't use a map. And I think we're getting off into the weeds here, man. Like, I have no dog in the Mercator fight either. Host is not stoned. I mean, come on, there's no liars around here. I smoke pot, man. If line me up and fucking shoot me, man. that he guarantees that I'll never be able to find my position with any degree of accuracy. And well, so again, let's go back to what I'm saying that the Mercator projection is. The Mercator projection is a map of a flat Earth that's a map of an Earth that's actually flat, that is assumed to be a globe. So you wrap that flat Earth around a globe like this, and then you take that and splay it out like this and stretch the poles to infinity. So it's a mistranslation. The Mercator projection, according to me, is a mistranslation of the actual face of the Earth. So like honestly, if I had to kill anybody and I had to choose like Gerardus Mercator, Cavendish, or Foucault, I would just have to do all three and then do the time for it because, but really I would probably do Mercator last because he did come up with some flat Earth maps of the center, right? So look up the, I forget the name of it, but Mercator actually is credited with some other maps that show the inflowing rivers of the central northern area that is Mount Meru, if you will, right? Okay. So, and again, he says, if not, what map would I use? I would use your face map. That's what I would use. Because I'm not planning any expeditions on any schooners anytime soon. Or at least if I do go out on a yacht or something, I'm sure we'll have GPS and we can just go along with that. Right. Okay, so number 5, he says at 8:20, you show a diagram of what you think the GP on a spherical Earth is. It is not. It's the point at the surface, at the crossing of the circle, and in a line from the star to the center of the sphere. That line will cross the perpendicular. There is your 90-degree angle. But that's not what it's claimed to be. Like, I know enough about celestial navigation that you're full of shit right there. That's not what it's claimed to be. It's claimed to be a circle of equal altitude around the GP where there's a 90-degree angle here, and whatever your angle is here, that tells you how far you are from there. So while you may not be practicing trigonometry to find that, it's there. The trigonometry is already there, built into the sauce, right? It's one of the secret ingredients. It's not so secret. But yeah, I mean, and honestly, I'm literally just drawing out what is claimed by people who claim to know what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to celestial navigation. Globetards, your people. This isn't coming, like, that's what I'm saying. That's the thing. You're asking me to defend your own shit here, dude. So that tells me that you don't know what you're talking about. So I'm willing to bet at this point, and we're only at number 5 of 7,000, that you have never celestially navigated a ship anywhere. Okay, and so you're like, I can't talk shit about you because I know better than that. Okay, but I'm not the one like claiming to be an expert. I'm just saying the main thing I'm saying is with triangles, you have to have straight lines. Like you cannot have a triangle that has curved edges. That's just, it's not in the cards for triangles, my brother. And you're trying to make me get defensible about positions that your side of this argument have. Like that's what shills and trolls do. So again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're out tonight on your schooner, you know, fishing for belugas without your GPS. You just threw your GPS in the water because you're such a fucking talented celestial navigator, but like whatever. Chuck, never turn your back on FE. It's the great deception. Yeah, well, globe Earth is, right? It really is. I mean, if you talk about the great deception, that's something that would fool the entire world, even the very elect, if such a thing were possible, right? That's what the Great Deception is. Revelation is people coming awake to that. So yeah, flat Earth involves the Great Deception, but it is part of Revelation. It's the Holy Spirit, which is the rational God-given discernment that we all have, to prove all things to ourselves and not rely upon the fallacies and fantasies of other men who profit from our ignorance. Yeah, I got you, Transcend 2. You're good, brother. Okay, so let's move on to number 6. Let me see if I can grab me a drink real quick. I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on. Right.
I was kind of using it at? Whatever. You share?
I'm still live.
Oh, well.
Here you go.
Hey, don't slam it.
I didn't mean to. Sorry. Sorry.
Why did you do that?
I didn't mean to.
Yeah, you did.
Okay. So on to, did we do number 5? So he's, okay, let me read this again. He says, at 820, you show a diagram of what I think the GP on a spherical Earth is. It is not. It's the point at the surface at the crossing of the circle and a line from the star to the center of the sphere. That line will cross the perpendicular. No, but dude, that's not what they say is happening. You're so full of shit. They don't say that it crosses at the perpendicular. They say that the GP is perpendicular to the star, and the observer is also perpendicular to the plane of the GP. You're like, honestly, that doesn't work. That kind of bullshit don't work on me, and I know fuck all about celestial navigation, but I'm also not an idiot, right? So your slimy attempt to pretend like you have a defensible position in this argument is fucking ridiculous. Like, it doesn't work. Okay, number 6. By the way, cheers. Okay, number 6. You say that the heavens work like clockwork, as seen from the Earth, and that would be impossible on the heliocentric model. Then why do you think they need a new nautical almanac each year? It's because of precession, basically. But precession isn't what I was talking about. See, you're totally missing my point. Then you're strawmanning something that I never really said with this number 6. Well, my point is if we were moving through space with the sun, and the sun was moving through space with the galaxy, and all the other stars within the galaxy were circling around the center of the galaxy like the sun and the Earth supposedly are. You've got all this motion. You would have mad parallax. You'd have basically the night, the celestial sky would be a constantly changing, never returning to the same relationship positions of stars. It would be something different every 10 years. It would constantly be changing due to parallax. I mean, like, some of the stars are supposedly 5 light years away, and some of them are supposedly 100,000 light years away. And yet the stars are constant. The constellations are constant. It's right in the name. Constellations are constant. They don't change. That's the point that I was saying, is that you don't have relative position changes of all the stars that are supposedly in motion, just as the Earth is supposedly in motion with the sun. So, like, what you're saying here, if you were trying to argue some point that I didn't make, you're mistaken about the point that I was making. See, this is something that bothered me all my life, even as a globetard, was the fact that it really doesn't jive with the heliocentric model that the constellations are constant. Space should be an ever-changing, sweeping change of different alignments of stars. And by the way, due to things like axial precession, we should never have the same North Star for longer than a decade at the most. There should be a precession of North Stars. Due to that, they say that the axis of the Earth wobbles once every 26,000 years, which is about a degree every 72 years in change of that circuit. So that's what I was talking about. What you're arguing with number 6 is a straw man. I never said that's not what I was saying. So number 7, you showed the nautical almanac from the nautical almanac site. Did you read it? I actually read a lot of it. I was surprised how much information is in it. And if you did read it, did you understand the formulas on pages 7 and 8? And if you did understand them, why didn't you mention that these formulas are only valid on a spherical Earth? Okay, no to all those questions. No, I didn't read the formulas. No, I don't understand them. And the rest of them are not applicable. But what I can tell you what that is those formulas are needed to transfer actuality on the plane to a hypothetical sphere, which is why those formulas only work on a sphere, because that's what they're intended to do. They're intended to map out the relative positions from the planar Earth that it is onto a hypothetical sphere. But, I mean, honestly, mariners didn't bring globes with them to go across open seas, bro. What are you talking about? That's crazy. You'll never find a globe on a ship that's celestial navigating. You're only ever going to find maps. And again, I'm not going to defend the Mercator projection. I think the Mercator projection's shit. I've made mad videos about how wrong the Mercator projection is and exactly why it's wrong. Detailed videos. I know what I'm talking about with this stuff. And basically, so your comment started with, I made so many mistakes, it's hard to know where to begin. And then you put a bunch of fucking words in my mouth of shit that I didn't say and started attacking things like the Mercator projection's validity. That's slimy, dude. Like, you're clearly a troll. Like, honestly, I'm not a betting man, but like, I bet the fucking farm that you're not a legitimate actual person who believes the earth is a globe. In my opinion, you're probably somebody that's paid to pretend like the globe has a defensible position. And it amazes me, maybe you're just a bot, who knows, but it amazes me that that y'all would even, go after my videos. YouTube's already totally shadow banned me. Like, most of the subscribers to my channel don't ever see my videos according to YouTube. So like, what difference does it make? I mean, NASA's caught, dude. NASA's been caught for a long time. They're fucking lying. They've been lying since the beginning. Operation Project Paperclip or whatever, right? That was the topic of my first video. NASA's been lying their ass off since the beginning. Flat Earth Sovereign says they have a question. What's up, Flat Earth Sovereign? Go ahead. I see that.
Yeah. Take it with you, I'm done. I don't want it.
And there's a bit of a delay, so I'll wait for Flat Earth Sovereign's question. But this is this sort of thing that makes it difficult to read through comments. And I appreciate that at least this dude didn't attack my personal character, because it doesn't matter. Like, my personal character has no weight in this argument. Like, the Earth is either flat and stationary, or it's a spinning ball. There's no reason to get, attached to one or the other. We're talking about objective truth here. The reason that people on the other side of this argument do fight tooth and nail to keep it even being discussed openly is because there's a lot of money in keeping their position the way that it is, right? And it's crazy, but it takes, the heliocentric model takes people's faith away from the creator of this realm and puts it into things like the sigil magic of the dollar. The only reason that the dollar has value or power is because of people's faith in it. That's it. Faith, collective faith, is a very powerful thing. And unfortunately, they've convinced us all that the universe is basically infinite and Earth is just a speck of dust within that infinitude. And basically, human life is meaningless according to their paradigm. If the entire Earth were to be destroyed this instant, it wouldn't make a ripple that would make a shit in the grand scheme of things, right? That's their paradigm. But in reality, the Earth is all that there is. We're at the front row seats of creation. We stand between the realms of spirit and the realms of the ultra dense physical. We are spiritual beings and physical beings. This real estate is of prime importance in the grand scheme of things. However, they would like to convince us that it is not, and thus, by extension, they would like to convince us that we are not that important, where we actually are. So, wow, 45 minutes almost on the nose for that series of questions. So again, I do appreciate you, Frank debrewer-Layden. Your comment is pinned on this video. I'll just keep it there. I do appreciate your input. I'm not trying to be mean to you. If you are a real person that believes that you live, stuck to the side of a spinning ball, walking around perpendicular to the axis of that spinning ball, maybe what I would suggest that you do, and I mean this sincerely, is apply some of your long overdue, extremely admirable skepticism towards your belief system that you've had since you were a toddler, specifically the one that's involves you walking around the sides of a spinning ball perpendicular to the axis. Imogene, the Morgile means, so Morgile was my gamer tag for Battlefield. So back, I didn't really get into Battlefield 1942, but I did Battlefield 2142. So Morgile was just a name that kind of seemed like it would work for a Russian team or a US or a British team. So Morgile works either way. The Morgile is because when I went to create my YouTube handle, I didn't want to use my name. So I tried Morgile, that was taken, and the Morgile or the Morgile is just what I ended up using, and it stuck. So that's what that means. Let me see if I know there was another question here. It looked like that came in. Let's see. Okay. Stephanie Campbell. Okay, so Flat Earth Sovereign on the standard FE model, say Dave's app. If you walk towards the full moon until I'm under the moon and keep walking until I'm past the moon, I'm now in the southern areas and it's still full. How? So the cycles of the moon are the same in either model. I mean, that's observable. The cycles of the moon are observable, so that's not going to change either way. Honestly, we don't exactly know what the sun and the moon are. So like my shit's just speculation, but where I sort of sit on this issue is that the moon cycles may be reflected light. Now there's some that argue that the moon cycles are because the moon is self-luminous. Maybe that's true. I don't really subscribe to that as much as I do as still the concept of reflected light, depending on the relative position between the sun and the moon. And instead of on this plane, it's on this plane. So like if the sun is above the moon, then you have a no moon phase. And then slowly as they go through their cycles, the sun will eventually get below the moon where it's reflecting back down and you get the full moon and then everything in between. But really, when we're looking at the moon, again, we're looking at sort of a projection. Like I hate to use that word, but it's you're looking at a projection of that light on, maybe you could call it the ionosphere or the Kármán line or whatever, you know. I don't know, man. What the moon cycles are a mystery that we may never fully comprehend. Again, I'm still on the fence. Maybe the moon is self-luminous. Maybe it's reflected light from the sun. I just sort of lean towards if it is reflected light from the sun, it has to do with their relationship on this axis, whether the sun or the moon is above or below one another, rather than what we have with the heliocentric model, which doesn't match observation, by the way. What we have with the heliocentric model, you would expect the no moon phases or like the crescent moon phases even to be on the day side of the Earth at all times. And on the opposite end, the full moon phases you would expect to be on the night side of the Earth at all times. And yet I've personally witnessed the full moon during broad daylight many hours after sunrise, as well as the crescent moon many hours after sunset. So, that observation doesn't work with the heliocentrics model of what's going on between the sun and the moon. And in the flat earth model, if the moon is reflected light, which it may be, then it has to do with this axis as opposed to, this one here. If you can see my hands, that helps. If not, then you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but okay. So let's see. I know there was another, wow, a lot of comments. So IQ says, since when did people start wondering about the shape of the Earth? Really curious. It's a good question. Definitely, in 1865, Rowbotham led a zetetic flat Earth movement that seemed to gain some traction and then was pretty swiftly snuffed out and demonized by the powers that be. But I do know that it was around like 2012, right, was when this topic had a resurgence, and it took a little while for it to kick in. But between 2012 and 2014 is when it really started blowing up, because it was time. We are living in the days of revelation, just as predicted by the prophets, where everything that is hidden and used to manipulate people and mind control people and have adverse effects on the family unit, all these deceptions are going to be put out in the light. And it was right on time with the age of Aquarius being ushered in, astrologically speaking. It was right on time with the Mayan long count calendar, which started over December 21st of 2012, at the winter solstice of 2012. It's all, it was prophesied. It's in the astrology. And so that's when revelation started happening. And flat earth, in my opinion, is the key to revelation. It gives us back our authority and discernment over what we believe to be true, which is something that Yeshua preached about pretty heavily. Prove all things to yourself. Don't bear false witness and that sort of things. Mr. Xavier, shout out. Thank you very much. Yeah, I got a ton of videos, so watch them all. No, I wouldn't expect anyone to do that. I wouldn't put you through that. Flat Earth Sovereign says, but if I'm looking directly up at the moon at the equator, the sun is still slightly above the moon. So what's lighting or charging the full moon? The ground? Yeah, I mean, so I also believe that the sun and the moon may be the sun and the moon may be anode and cathode type things, because we definitely have this dielectric plane. The ground is, positive, the sky is negative, and we actually do see the increase in, voltage or whatever proportionally with altitude when you build things like Tesla towers. We live in a free energy system. The Earth is a free energy creator. That's what it is. And so it is a travesty that, these power grid monopolies are sucking away our lifeblood for things like electricity. We have the potential to live in a utopia, but unfortunately the top 1% are fucking it up for everybody and have been for a long time, just so that they can have more shit than the next person, right? So I know I sound jaded because I totally am. Okay, I think that wraps this one up. We did 51 minutes on the question, but if you guys like this, definitely give it a thumbs up, leave comments. I'll try to check in on comments and stuff, and just share it on social media, because this is an important topic. And I don't want to be always not responding to these long 7-part series comments. It's just more often than not, it's not even globetards that I'm dealing with. It's just trolls. Oh, I'm a Gene Reeves. I wish I would. I'm whooped. It's been one hell. V. Thomas, don't go, baby. No, I know. I'll be back. I ain't going nowhere. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, share it. And maybe I'll do more of these if it seems like it gets any sort of, response or whatever. But I love you guys very much. If you want to contribute to the channel effort, my PayPal is back up and available. So paypal.me/themorgile. Cash App, Venmo, Patreon is all the Morgile. So one love. Thank you. Freedom is primary. V. Thomas, love you guys, and I'll see you very soon in the next one. Okay, take it easy.